Welcome back, family. This is your boy ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, that just simply means Ed. Today, I got a great one for you today. I heard the question is, how hard is it to pass the CAPM exam? Again, how hard is it to pass the CAPM exam? Beautiful question. You know, I was just thinking about this because I remember August 30th, 2014. See, prior to that date, I finally made it up in my mind, probably about 3 to 6 months ahead of that date, and said, you know what, I'm really going to take this thing we call project management very seriously. So I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to go read the books and understand the material. And oh, they have this certification called CAPM, which stands for Certificate Association Project Management, or Certified Association Project Management, Project Manager. And I was excited. I was like, yep, I'm going to go for it. I started getting the requirements that are required in order to be eligible to sit down and take the test. So one of the things, family, is when you submit your application, you're waiting in anticipation. You're like, because you may get selected for a particular audit. And I'm going to make a video on that too, family, about that whole process, because I went through it all. And so, anyway, so I get through, everything goes out well. I select the date that I'm actually going to take the test, which was August 30th, 2014. So when you walk in, first of all, when you walk into the facility, the lady comes up, or the person, at this time it was a lady that I was working with, and she said, okay, sir, please dump everything out your pockets. And she scanned me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I'm already thinking about the test, and you doing all of this too. So I'm thinking about that piece, but I'm like, I blocked it out. I was like, man, this is nothing. Let's just go ahead. So I sit down, and again, so you're all super excited, and the instructions come up, and now let's keep it. Let's take a small commercial break and think about this for a minute. If you've ever taken a test, you just want to get straight to the test. But I understand the procedures ahead, because it does really show you if there's been any particular changes to the test. For example, I know recently, that was the past 2 or 3 years, where they had a new piece where you can actually cross out answers. When I was taking the test in August of 2014, they didn't have that. So anyway, I sit down. I understand that the test is 150 questions. I will repeat that, 150 questions, and I have a certain amount of time to finish this actual test. So I go ahead and I sit down, and I'm going through the test, boom, boom, I'm knocking out answers. I start feeling good. When you start doing one of these numbers and start moving your shoulders, like, yeah. So I'm cruising through the answers, and I'm like, yeah, I know this material. I got this. And so at the end of the test, you get your results. But first, you got to do a survey. Now, again, here you go. You're thinking to yourself, like, I do not care about this survey right now. I need to know the work that I put in those months, that was very committed and dedicated. Like, I wasn't just interested in passing this exam. Like, I was really getting up in the morning, studying for the exam. I was listening to information in the car about how to pass the exam, as far as like questions and different domain areas. So I was ready. I thought I was more than ready. I get my test results back, and it says failed. Whew, I tell you, family, that was a really tough one. I mean, and then you get up, and it feels like and this was just me. I felt like, man, I can't believe this is happening to me, and you start cycling into a victim mode, and just like, man, why me? I really put in the time. I did everything that I needed to do. Why is this happening to me? What questions did I really miss? Where am I off? So you start going through that. And then eventually, if with the mindset of being able to adjust and adapt and say, okay, that happened to me. Now what am I going to do? Well, now let's go into solution mode. After we went through our pity party mode and victim mode, we need to go straight in to figure out, why didn't we pass this test? And again, like I said, that August 30th day, I was like, I mean, you should have seen how I had it circled on calendar. I had it, I even had the date posted on my bedroom door. So when I opened it, I wrote up there, pass CAPM exam on August 30th, 2014. I just knew it. I was ready. So family, I go ahead and proceed, and then I get back to work. And I mean, I put in even more than I did before, because I was like, well, I'm going to have to just work harder. I'm going to have to learn the material. I'm going to have to study it day and night like this. See, family, I love what Tony Robertson says when he talks about, your shoulds and your must. And what I got out that is more or less, you got to make a true decision to say, this is a must for me. And for me, it was a must that I passed this, because I know I put in the work, but I didn't focus in certain areas to make sure that I was successful. So now I need to go back to the drawing board. And so when you ask that question of family of saying, hey, is it hard to pass the CAPM exam? I will say yes and no. And I know family, we don't like to be on the fence here, but reason why I say yes and no is because for me, I thought that I had, all I could do is just, all I need to do is just go pick up a book and just go through the stuff and boom, it'd be easy. But I needed more resources than that. I needed to be able to be in a learning management system. I had to be able to have, one-on-one talks with a coach or in a group setting to understand how can we break down these questions to understand them, and how can I eliminate the answers that don't make sense. So family, when I think about it and when I look back and I say, you know what, when I sat down on that December 27th, 2014, I was confident. Now, last time I thought I was confident, but this time I was like Rocky Creed type like, yep, this is a layup. We got this. And so what I did was I sat down, I took my time, took a deep breath, and I went in and end up passing the CAPM. And that was a great way, I felt, for me to end the year. And what I learned from that overall is that it's possible. Les Brown has a point. It is possible. And so what I did to pass that exam is, I'll make a whole video, I'm gonna make a video on that of what my training regimen was. But the focus was to make sure that I started keying in the areas that I was scoring weak in on the learning management system, or I couldn't articulate it out to somebody. Because see, the CAPM, I'm gonna give you the foundation of the CAPM. The CAPM is really around a lot of the principles, a lot of vocabulary, like definitions, and every now and then you may have formula, but the whole thing, the reason why the CAPM is there, and this is again my opinion, is really to help grow you as as a project manager, or helping you learn the foundation of the different domain areas within project management. And then the next step is of course, the PMP. But again, that CAPM, I was just like, man, I really wanted it so bad, family. And because I wanted it so bad, I was willing to do what others weren't willing to do. I was really, that's really a tongue twister, huh? No, I was really ready to study and lock in, and whatever it costs to sacrifice. And sometimes we put so many things in front of what we say we really want. We say that we want to pass the CAPM, or we want to pass the PMP, but in passing the CAPM is going to require a sacrifice of your time, of things that maybe you would normally do on a day basis, especially on the weekend. Like the weekends for me were golden. I would get up early in the morning and I would just study through the day. And I'm gonna be realistic with you, family, is that even though I studied that way, I also took breaks. I took some, breaks to make sure that I didn't overstudy, because that too is something that can happen. And when you think about overstudy, like how can you overstudy? Well, because a lot of people think that the CAPM is hard. And again, I'm not saying that it's not hard. I'm on the fence with that, because I know if you put in the work, you have a greater opportunity of passing the CAPM, especially with good tools and everything like that. But everything starts with you and how you learn. And that was another thing I learned about in preparing and studying for the CAPM, is how do you learn? How do you more or less take in information and put it in a way? I love what I heard somebody say: if you can't explain basically just anything, if you can't explain it to somebody that has no idea what you do, then you made the explanation too complicated. And that's what I had to do. I had to really start looking at the questions, and then being able to talk to somebody that's not in project management and say, hey, what do you, do you know, if I told you what a work breakdown structure is and how it's built out and things like that, just I started giving examples, and I really started digging deep to find out what really was my study lane or my study direction to be able to pass the CAPM. So when you ask the question, like I said, family, is it hard to pass? It depends on you. But if you put in the work, you have a better opportunity to pass it. And again, with the right tools, I'll just keep repeating that because there's a lot of courses, because I took a lot of different CAPM courses ahead of time, and um, some of them just, I mean, there was some that just had PowerPoint with someone talking, and it was just, I mean, it was just crazy. So you be sure, family, when you are going out there searching for a CAPM course, because you need to get that to get those accredited hours in order to take the exam. But when you're out there searching, find someone that is a quality teacher, a quality coach, because everybody can't teach, in my opinion. I'm learning that more and more, and everybody can't coach, and that's cool. But what we have to do is find the one that fits us and that fits, how we learn and fits how we basically study information and retain it. So if you have any questions about that or who would I recommend, hey, hit me in the comments, and I'll shoot a couple coaches and teachers your way. Until next time, this is your boy ED. I'm out.